You're scrolling. Someone pops up, posting their latest achievement, their big news. They're visible, unapologetic, taking up space, and something inside you tightens. They're so thirsty for attention, you think, so narcissistic. But here's what's curious about that moment. You're not really seeing them. You're seeing a part of yourself you've been hiding for years. That flash of judgment, that little surge of irritation, it's not about them. It never was. The Latin root of projection is projectio, to throw forward. When we have something inside us that we cannot accept, we throw it, we cast it onto someone else, and then we attack it out there instead of facing it in here. This mechanism is running in you right now while you watch this video, while you judge your coworker, while you idealize your partner, while you feel that little flame of righteousness at strangers online. And the moment you understand this, you unlock something powerful, the ability to control your reality by mastering yourself. Let's be precise about what projection actually is. Picture this. There's someone at work who irritates you. Let's call him Marcus. Marcus is confident. He speaks up in meetings, shares his thoughts without hesitation, takes up space. And something about him bothers you. He's so full of himself, you think, always needs to be the center of attention. But here's what might actually be happening. You have a forbidden desire. You want to take up space. You want to speak confidently. You want to be seen. But somewhere, probably in childhood, you learned that's selfish, that's arrogant, that's too much. So you tucked that part of yourself away, buried it, decided you're the humble one, the considerate one, the one who doesn't need all that. But the desire didn't die. It's still there, quietly burning. And when you see Marcus embodying what you've forbidden yourself, your psyche does something automatic. It projects. Suddenly, he's the arrogant one. He's the problem. He's the one who needs to change. You feel clean. You're not like him. You're humble. It's actually quite elegant in a way. The mind protecting itself from its own contradictions. But the cost? You're now living in a kind of hallucination. You've turned a mirror into an enemy. This is one of the fundamental patterns of projection. What you cannot feel and hear, you often end up fighting out there. We all contain multitudes, confident and uncertain, strong and weak, kind and sometimes not so kind. But if you've decided you're only allowed to be one thing, the other parts don't disappear. They just get thrown onto someone else. And once you start throwing parts of yourself away, your social world can become a hall of mirrors. Everywhere you look, reflections you don't recognize as your own. Imagine walking into a new training group or high-stakes meeting. You want to impress everyone. You want to be seen as intelligent. But underneath, terror. Don't say something stupid. In this moment, a lot of internal energy is being spent suppressing the stupid self and polishing the ideal self. This usually happens unconsciously. You just feel constricted, awkward, somehow smaller than you were 5 minutes ago. And now, because you're so focused on feeling inadequate, so convinced you're the only one who doesn't belong, you start projecting your intelligence onto everyone else. Everyone here is so smart. I'm the only fraud. You've given away your gold, handed it out like party favors. This is not reality. It's a projection. You've taken your own capacity for intelligence and pasted it onto the group, leaving yourself feeling exposed and strangely empty. This is what I call the elevator. And once you're in it, you can't stop moving. When you project, you're never standing on solid ground. You're either looking up at gods, idealization, or looking down at the unworthy, devaluation. If you speak and make a mistake, the elevator crashes. You go from fraud to victim. You might even flip the script. These people are arrogant. They're judging me. But often they're not. The courtroom is internal. You're the judge, the jury, and the defendant, all at once. Here's how this plays out in relationships. You tell a friend about a success you had. You're secretly hoping for praise. You want her to say, "Wow, you're amazing." but you can't admit this need. Somewhere along the way, you decided that meeting validation is weakness, embarrassing even. So you hide it. You tell the story casually. Your friend listens, nods, but doesn't give you the applause you secretly wanted. Instantly, the projection machine kicks in. You don't think, I wanted praise and didn't get it. Instead, she's jealous, or she's cold. She didn't even acknowledge what I said. Why? Because you couldn't own your need, so you created a fantasy. A good friend should have known I needed praise. When reality didn't match fantasy, you had two options: make her the bad guy, or feel your own disappointment. Most people choose the first path. It's faster, it feels justified, and it protects you from something that started long before this conversation. Because the pain didn't start with your friend. Your unconscious is trying to protect you from re-experiencing an older wound, so it makes someone else the problem. But the hurt was already there, waiting. The person in front of you just touched it. Now we go deeper. Most people think projection is something you do to others, but the most exhausting form? The one you do to yourself. Inside your mind, there's a split. The ideal self, who you think you should be. The real self, the human who gets tired, makes mistakes, needs rest, gets confused. Here's what's devastating. Many of us identify with the ideal self. We sit on the throne, and from that throne we look down at our real self, the one who procrastinated, who felt awkward at the party, and we attack. You're pathetic, you're lazy, you should have known better. This is the voice in your head, and somewhere along the way you started believing it was truth, just being realistic. This is internal projection. You're projecting your badness onto your own humanity. You're the critic and the criticized in the same body. Think about it. When you tell yourself, I'm the stupidest person in this room, who's speaking? And who's listening? The ideal self is speaking, outraged that the real self had the audacity to be human. And this inner dynamic shows up everywhere, especially online. You see someone being free and authentic and taking up space. If you feel sudden burning irritation, if you find yourself thinking the other one is narcissistic or attention-seeking, it might be worth asking, has your ideal self forbidden you from being seen? Because when someone else takes up space, we tend to either attack them or worship them. Either way, we're not really seeing them. We're seeing a projection of our own forbidden desire. Either way, we're in the elevator. There's one more layer, and this one is subtle. You can also project onto parts of yourself, your inner child, your trauma, your generational patterns. Now, these concepts can be genuinely useful. They help us understand where patterns come from. They give language to things that were previously invisible. But sometimes, they become another form of projection. Instead of projecting onto a neighbor, you project onto a part inside you. You treat your trauma as a separate entity, a kind of inner scapegoat. It can become a sophisticated way of saying, I'm not responsible, the trauma did it. Here's the nuance. Understanding where a pattern came from is valuable. It's the beginning of wisdom, not the end. But you're the one living it now. You're the one enacting it today. If you inherited a poverty mindset from your father, it's not his anymore. It's yours. You're the one shrinking from the bill. You're the one, potentially, passing it forward. Real integration means being able to say, this pattern is mine now, and because it's mine, I can work with it. So how do you work with the projection trap? That's what we'll uncover next. First, learn to recognize the signal. Whenever you're in strong judgment, idealization, or contempt, there's a good chance you're in the elevator. You're projecting. Here's a useful clue. If your thoughts are binary, they're amazing, they're terrible, this is right, this is wrong, you've probably lost contact with the full picture. Second, build capacity to sit with discomfort. Here's a question worth sitting with. How much tension can you hold? How much of your own difficult feelings can you stay with before needing to throw them onto someone else? This is your psychological capacity, and it determines how much of life you can actually experience without running from it. It might sound like this: I feel incredibly small right now, and I'm not going to blame anyone. I'm not going to attack myself. I'm just going to let this feeling be here. Most of us can't tolerate 10 seconds of this, which is why we project. It's instant relief at a hidden cost. Third, observe without identifying. There's a part of you that can witness without evaluating, that can notice, I'm feeling stupid right now, without becoming the stupidity. The feeling passes through. It doesn't have to become your identity. Fourth, ask better questions. Why am I reacting so strongly? What part of me am I not allowing? What would happen if I admitted I feel this way? The intensity of your reaction often reveals the intensity of your prohibition. The more you rage at attention seekers, the more forbidden it might be for you to seek attention. The more you judge people who rest, the more you've possibly forbidden yourself rest. The judgment is the map. It's pointing somewhere, usually inward. The more you can observe without judging, the more versions of yourself become available to you. The more possibilities open up. Remember that person on social media, the one who made you recoil? They're still there, posting, being loud, taking up space. What's different now? Here's the wild part. The world is projection. To some degree, we're always interpreting, always filtering, always adding meaning. That's not the problem. The problem is when you are not aware you're projecting, when you think the movie is reality, when you spend years fighting reflections. The practice isn't complicated. It's radical honesty with yourself, not with others, with yourself. It sounds like, I'm jealous. I want attention. I feel small. I'm projecting my brilliance onto them. I'm attacking myself. When you can see all of it without needing to look away, that's when projection starts to loosen its grip. That's when you stop giving your gold away, stop making enemies out of mirrors, stop waging quiet wars with yourself. You can't eliminate projection. It's part of being human, part of how the mind makes sense of a complicated world. The power move is to learn to catch yourself, to see it happening, and to gently reclaim what you threw away.